Jewish and Greek philosophers trying to map their ideas onto each other. And when it ends up getting mapped is the kavod and the logos. And you can see that in the book of John. That's the very beginning of the book of John, is that mapping really clearly mapped out, with the son being the logos.
Or in Philo, right? Philo does something to the effect.
Right. Philo, and that's part of the reason why Philo survives, is because they really liked the logos stuff, because basically they thought he was sort of doing Christian theology, at least according to them, according to Christians, without knowing he was doing it, kind of. But he's just echoing ideas coming from Middle Platonism and Stoicism. So what ends up happening is this kavod logos thing just gets its own legs and eventually becomes a distinct entity, almost to the point, well, not almost, to the point in which it becomes a kind of separate god. In fact, even in the Enochic literature, this entity is sometimes referred to as Yahweh Katan, the little Yahweh, which is it's like, I think of the baby Jesus or something, like the little Yahweh. But this entity Metatron gets called Yahweh Katan, to the point in which this develops into bitheism. And one of the heresies, the heresy that Judaism worries about more than any other heresy in the Babylonian Talmud and in the literature around the Second Temple period, is not Christianity. Christianity does not bother rabbinical Judaism. They just don't care about it. What they are really concerned about is bitheism. And the most famous story in the entire Babylonian Talmud about this is where Elisha ben Abuya goes into the Merkava, goes into the Hechalot, goes into the palace of God, and he sees Metatron sitting on the throne of God and declares there are two deities. And that's the worst heresy recorded in the entire Talmud. He's the arch heretic, Elisha ben Abuya. So much so that his name just gets erased and he's called Acher, the other one. Like he just gets erased him anyways. So you just see it happen over and over again, right? You can see it in Paul, right? You can see it in Christian theology with the eventual divinization of Jesus. You can see it in other kinds of Gnostic texts, right, where we have this sort of divine, perfect man. And of course, you can also see it in Kabbalah with the so-called Adam Kadmon, which is this supernal, quasi-divine, Adamic character that sort of is almost like the Platonic form of human beings before human beings are instantiated in this world as a kind of maybe mistake, maybe not. Depends on how you read those texts. But yeah, this idea has enormous impact. It's one of these ideas that I don't understand why everyone doesn't know about it, because it's basically responsible for, it's the intellectual architecture behind some level Trinitarian economics. You just can't get the Trinity off the ground without that intellectual infrastructure.
This is the same problem that